All right, so I was busy doing some work from a teacher uh, and taking care of stuff with my class. But so I got on Twitter, and the first thing I see is talk. No, I didn't get on Twitter. What happened was I saw a video from somebody I follow talking about Jrue getting traded. I was like, oh, Big Ben gif. Insert Big Ben gif. Oh, if you haven't seen that gif, go look at it. It's hilarious. And so I'm like, okay. I didn't go look at the video. I went straight to Twitter. And I started seeing all these like, oh, Jrue might get traded. Jrue might get traded. He's on the market. I was like, okay. So now I was like, I seen people I know posting this shit. So I was like, okay, let me go see what the reporters say. Then you got the Hoops websites talk about it. Okay, this is legit. Okay. So, Jrue gonna be up out of there, more than likely. Now, I mentioned this in one of my videos. I said, if Stan Van Gundy gonna go, who they trade out, if they decide who they decide to keep is gonna tell you a lot. I told y'all this. So we got Lonzo, even though there's Lonzo for Paul George rumors, and I'm gonna make that video. That's gonna be my next video. I promise. I ain't forgot. I just saw this, and I was just like, this is probably more precedent to do a take on real quick. I will do the video about the Lonzo Paul George trade rumors. That will be my next video. I promise you. But anywho, well, you know. I mean, it is what it is. So we'll see. We gonna see what happens. Now, I'm gonna say this though. Lonzo, like Stan Van Gundy been talking up Lonzo, so we gonna see what happens. Uh, I'm not gonna sleep on the possibility that he may even look to trade Zoe. Um, Still keep that in the back of your head, people. Don't get happy for Zoe yet. He ain't out to clear till training camp, roster, and all that other shit is figured out. All right, so having said all that, what does this mean? Well, there's a bunch of teams who need Jrue Holiday, championship contenders, and there are teams that are willing to give up pieces to have him on the roster. There's teams like the Bucks, Brooklyn, maybe even Miami, uh, Orlando, the Clips, the Lakers, like any team who was front court heavy or wing heavy but weak at guard, they're going to they're going to need him. And if you're in the West, who are your point guards you got to deal with? Dame, Jrue, I'm sorry, Dame, Steph, Russ, Harden, Jamal Murray, um, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker when he eventually gets there. You got D'Angelo Russell. Like as you can see, Luka Doncic. The list just keeps growing, and so now teams that are like, we need to neutralize at least one of the guard players for us to have a chance. They're gonna start looking to make that deal, and you're gonna see there's gonna be teams like jockeying for position. Now the question is, if you get rid of Jrue, what are you gonna like? What are you gonna um, take back in? Well, the thing we gotta look at is cap space, cap flexibility. All that's just changing due to new CBA and all this other stuff. We don't even know they're gonna start in December or January. That will affect the cap space and money and all the other stuff. But check this out. Are they just gonna trade Jrue, or they trade somebody else with Jrue? Are they gonna keep JJ or trade JJ? Are they gonna keep, Melly, sign a trade with Favors, you know, all kinds of, each one more like contracts that they have that like they might not just trade Jrue straight up, or they may trade Jrue to get like multiple other pieces or players. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have to be on the lookout for this. Obviously, with Jrue being gone, that leaves a hole on the team. The question really becomes, What are you gonna get there? If they make their trade to Miami and they get Tyler Hero, well, you gotta grow Tyler Hero up to a like defensive stopper to some degree. He may not be as good, but he's got to elevate. And in the meantime, he basically is good enough to start. Um, there's it's so much into this. Karis LeVert, he started ready. Spencer Dinwiddie, he started ready. Um, he's kind of older. You know, if they may try to take Gary Harris, or Michael Porter Jr. or Ball. Like, there's so much that goes into this because it's not just Jrue Holiday leaving. It's what they get back to possibly replace him, and if they trade any of that extra bench depth that we had for another piece, that's where the value comes in. Matter of fact, I'm not so much worried about who they get to replace Jrue as much as I'm worried or concerned about the other stuff. Because, for instance, if you get Tyler Hero, great. But what if they get like Kelly Olynyk? Kelly Olynyk is on the Heat, I think, too. Yeah, I think he is. But Kelly Olynyk. Now you're looking at a stretch five. Okay, now the team's starting to come together. So we need to be privy to not just the replacement for Jrue. Now I've been a proponent saying Josh Hart could start. A lot of people don't agree with me, but I'm perfectly okay starting Josh Hart, there all season. And that's if we don't have, a legit like monster at 2. I'm okay with starting Josh Hart. I think Josh Hart does enough stuff that he will affect the game positively as a starter. He's 6'5". He's tenacious. He's got length. He's a dog. I think he would fit in well. And like I told people last year, that Lakers trio was something out there. Them boys, their synergy was on point. And I would love to see Josh Hart get the confidence of Stan Van Gundy and the Pels organization, say, hey, you're going to be our starter this year. Even if he don't maintain that until they get something else or whatever, I'm perfectly okay with him starting, and then you just have JJ Redick coming up off the bench, and they could just split the minutes, and then voila, they deal with it that way. But I'd like a little bit more strength in some key areas there. So, like I said, there's plenty of teams that are shopping. There's teams I'm not even thinking of right now who may be like, oh, we can use Jrue. What about Toronto? Or OKC? You know what I'm saying? There's so much moving parts that could be here, and it really just depends on what they feel is best. And I'm not sure when they can effectively make trades, but between that and the draft, like if they can make trades before the draft, if they trade Jrue before the draft, they got something in mind for their pick. That pick, they got something in mind for their pick. I just got a feeling. I just trust my gut on that. But that's big news. That's incredible news. Lonzo fans are excited, and they should be. BI fans, Zion fans excited. They should be. But we still have the hole at 5, and depth. Like I've been telling people, the most important things roster wise is not so much the 2. It's like the guard spots are the least concerning. It's center and depth. People talk about the Pels' depth last year. That depth was garbage to me. I'm sorry. You can't tell me a team that got that's heavy in backcourt players and don't really have forwards and stretch fives or versatility. Like, you can't tell me that's a good roster. I don't care how good some of these guys are. It's just not. Our depth wasn't that good. Now, some of these guys go on other teams that got certain other things and they need their talent. Like, I could see each one more going to another team and he'll shine on that team because he's needed. His skill set is needed there. But I don't think his skill set was needed on the Pels. And vice versa with some other teams. So, or other players. So, my main thing is, can we patch up 5? And here's the thing. I'm okay with you giving Jackson Hayes a lot more playing time. I'm okay with that. Uh, Even if you want to start him, I'm okay with that. But you're gonna have to have someone who can um, do a different role off the bench. Bi and Zion cannot really be your only forwards. I know we got Melly, but they can't be your only forwards. We need comparable size and length there. 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 6'11". We need bulk. We need that. Backup ball handler. I'm gonna tell y'all right now. You could just run Nickeil Alexander Walker there. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but you could. You absolutely could run Nickeil Alexander Walker there, and you'd be okay. Because guess what? This team is going to have to grow anyway. And remember, I told y'all in my other video, depending on what they do, you gotta have to for them to ascend. Some other teams are gonna have to come out, and we're all expecting Golden State to step up. We don't expect Portland to be the ninth seed, and depending on what happens with OKC, they may come down, but Golden State got to come up. You know, if Memphis falls down, Portland's gonna rise up. So you got to if they're gonna get in to the playoffs anyway, they're gonna have to take wins from some of these teams. It's not gonna be easy, and then we don't even know what Houston is gonna look like because this we might trade hard, even though they say we're not gonna trade hard. So we'll see. But you know, it's so many moving parts to be aware of. We'll have to see what the teams look like right before opening night, before we can really truly assess. But as it stands right now, this is looking like a development year. If this is the development year and they want to try to compete anyway, I don't see a problem with having to kill Alexander Walker as your ball handler. He's got to get playing time to develop anyway. You took him high enough for it to matter. Jackson Hayes has to play. He has to get minutes. He needs that experience. So if we're gonna say that, then you got your shooting guards in JJ and Hart. You got Lonzo and Nikhil Alexander Walker. So all you really have is Bi, Zion, Melly, and Jackson Hayes and Jahlil Okafor. Um, and that's not even including the others off the bench that we're not going to talk about, Frank Jackson and all the other guys. So you can see they really need spacing at those positions at the forward. They need defense, you know, and with Stan Van Gundy, they should be an excellent defensive team, but at the end of the day, it was still a hole last year. They need to be one of the things the Pels need to be able to do. They need to be able to be versatile, and the Pels had issues last year where they couldn't match versatility with other teams. So when the Lakers decided to put AD, LeBron, and JaVale or Dwight out there, they had no size for them. They get killed, but they can match you if you play small ball. The Pels had enough to play small ball, but the problem is they had a lot of repetition when it came to the small ball. And even though they could beat the small ball teams, they still had some struggles with them. So I'd like to see them get some more size back there so they can compete with the bigger teams and they can flex around. They need versatility. Robert Covington is somebody I would love for this team. I would love him for this team. Um, there's another guy, I can't think of his name right now. Uh, can't think of his name right now. But he's like 6'10", 6'11". Is it Dario Saric? It may be him, or is it another guy? He's some guy, foreign guy, been in the league for a while. He can shoot and space the floor. He's like a threat to get 18, go like 6 for 6 in the night, something crazy like that. I can't remember. One of y'all might know who I'm talking about or whatever, but players like that, you know, um, Norman Powell, I think his name is Nader from OKC, and OKC got a lot of bench depth that we could use, So they got people all over the floor that you can use and we need. So it's a matter of getting proper fit and everything with the team. Now, like I said, Dan's whole thing is defense, 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 and he's a teacher. And if you're going to have all these young guys, they need to be taught because they do not know how to play the game of basketball at the highest level, especially on defense. I'm sorry. There's too many holes on this team. This team's too young. They need to be taught. So that's where Stan is definitely a great pickup at coach. But you can kind of see some of this is coming together. Now the parts are starting to move, and now the Pels are about to pick up steam as far as what this roster is going to look like and how they're building this going forward. And once training camp start, we'll know for sure what the game plan is and how they try to play. But for right now, this Jrue Holiday news is big. It's huge. I think we were expecting it to happen. It's like finally it's here, so now we can talk about it. And now all these trade scenarios are finna go through the roof. Now we got to look at, what's out there. Miles Turner, teams, with bigs and other pieces that we need. Because you could literally go get a Miles Turner and he can fill a lot of the gap that the team needed. And you could play Jackson Hayes behind him and you'll be fine. Then you'd be like, oh, okay, we need to get rid of Jrue Holiday. Jahlil Okafor. And there's a team that might need Jahlil. And it'd be like, oh, okay, well, maybe we can get like some underused 6'9", 3-and-D guy for Jahlil. And you'd be like, that's great, we need him. And it works. So this your boy, just want to talk about that Jrue Holiday news. I'm going to get to work on that Paul George Lonzo video. I just got to go find an article and do some research to refresh my memory on it because I ain't seen it in a while. But I'm going to get on that video next. Peace.